Evening Philippines and good day world. It's Thursday, October 12, 2023 and you're watching Newsline World. I'm Frederico Velloso.
And I'm Deivid Lira. We are here to bring you the top stories together from all over the globe.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte strongly condemned the Hamas terror attack on Israel.
The Israel-Hamas war continued to grind on with no signs of easing anytime soon.
Afghanistan is hit by another earthquake again, just day after devastating quakes that occurred over the weekend.
In Europe, Finland launches an investigation on the gas leak in the Baltic Connector pipeline, an incident that revives a memory of the Nord Stream sabotage.
And Pastor Apollo awarded as an outstanding leader by the Public Attorney's Office Awards.
These and more for tonight's edition of Newsline World.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte strongly condemns the violence perpetrated by the terrorist group Hamas against innocent civilians. He further states that Iran, which supports Hamas, aims to eradicate Jews from the world. Carlo de la Peña tells us more.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte vehemently condemns the atrocities and hostage-taking carried out by the terrorist organization Hamas against innocent civilians in Israel. During his appearance on the Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa program with Pastor Apollo Kibuloy, former President Duterte shared his views on the ongoing conflict between the Palestinian militant group Hamas and the Israeli Defense Forces. He emphasized the need to condemn inhumane acts such as indiscriminate violence against civilians during the conflict. He mentioned that he has not heard any official stance from the Philippine government on the issue.
Well, every nation has condemned, and I am condemning Hamas and Hezbollah. We are sad that they have been killed or dragged or hostage. We do not like it. And all of us Filipinos, and even our Muslim brothers and sisters, should condemn itong mga ganito na klaseng terrorism. I don't know about the stand of the government. I'm just a former president. But unahan ko na because nothing has come out of Malacanang or any government agency for that matter.
The former president also mentioned that the financial backing behind Hamas comes from Iran, which has ambitions to erase Jews from the world.
This one is a deadly mixture motivated by violence and one aim. The dream talaga nito is to kill Iran. Ang ambisyon ng Iran is to wipe out every Jew dito sa mundong ito. Bato kasi itong Iran, the Iranians are not Arabs, ha? Mind you.
Persians.
Persians yan sila. They are called the Persian on yan, in the old world. Yan talaga ang promotor noon pa. Pag ito, alam ng Israel na itong Iran funded, organized, and husbanded the organization. So there is a possibility, I think, that Iran would be bombed by an atomic bomb.
Former President Duterte encourages Arab states, led by Saudi Arabia, to stand against terrorism. He claims that the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas is essentially a proxy war involving radical Arab states.
This is actually a proxy war between Iran and Israel. And yung mga radical na Arab states. So, itong mga high profile na with so much influence on the Arab affairs should think now of how to correct things if it can be corrected.
It is possible that Israel's intelligence agency Mossad became complacent, enabling such violence to escape detection.
Whether you are not doing your duty, stupid, you are indolent, or there was this sense of comfort zone, complacency. Kumpiyansa ba?
In this context, former President Duterte also warned terrorist groups not to attempt any attacks in the Philippines and that he is prepared to respond to any aggression against Filipinos by terrorists.
Now, terrorism is always everywhere. It is in Europe, it is in America, nandito sa atin. But I'm just warning you. Wag ninyong gawain dito yung gano'n. Ulit! Hindi mo na kailangan imasakir mo yung Pilipino na marami. Gumawa ka lang ng one single injustice for no reason at all. You kill your hostage. I will go to war. And we will all die. And that will be the end for the world.
It's worth noting that a senior Hamas military commander announced the beginning of Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, during which more than 5,000 rockets were launched by the group on the previous Saturday. Reporting, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
The prisoner exchange deal between Iran and the United States that saw the billions of dollars in sanctioned funds released to the Islamic Republic came under scrutiny as critics claimed the money was used to fund the surprise attack launched by Hamas against Israel. Melchizedek Cadiz reports.
A group of Republican contenders and senators linked the $6 billion worth of frozen Iranian funds released by the United States to the surprise attack launched by the Palestinian militant group Hamas in Israel. Speaking in front of thousands of his supporters in Cedar Rapids, Iowa on Saturday, former U.S. President Donald Trump accused the Biden administration of betraying its ally Israel through the prisoner exchange deal. To note, the prisoner exchange deal that took place last month between the U.S. and Iran saw the release of 5 American prisoners in exchange for 5 Iranian citizens, as well as the release of $6 billion worth of funds owned by the Islamic Republic. The $6 billion Iranian assets have been frozen under U.S. sanctions in South Korean banks after relations faltered between the two countries in 2019. The frozen Iranian assets were later transferred to an account in Doha, Qatar, after negotiations surrounding the prisoner exchange deal turned successful last month. Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis also questioned Washington's continued involvement and suggested that the Biden administration empowered Iran after it agreed to transfer the funds. He added that the U.S. should hold Iran accountable for financially supporting Hamas. Meanwhile, American senators under the Republican Party, also known as the Grand Old Party or GOP, wrote a letter to President Joe Biden on Monday evening asking for the government to freeze once more the $6 billion Iranian assets. They argued that the money is fungible or mutually interchangeable and could be used further by Iran or Hamas against Israel. A Hamas official previously denied that Iran supported the operation, but former U.S. intelligence and military officers claimed that the sophisticated tactics used by the Palestinian militant group used a similar approach that Iran and its proxies often use against its opponents with superior conventional forces. In the wake of the allegations, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken maintained that the $6 billion fund resting in Qatar banks remain untouched and insisted that no U.S. taxpayer dollars were involved. Reporting, this has been Melchizedek Cadiz, SMNI News, Kuwait.
Meanwhile, the EU has reversed its Palestinian aid suspension amid internal disagreements after an initial announcement made by a commissioner that the bloc was immediately suspending the said assistance for Palestinian authorities. Jane Codnita reports.
The European Union has reversed its decision to suspend aid payments to the Palestinian Authority following conflicting statements from EU officials. Initially, Enlargement Commissioner Oliver Varhelyi announced a €691 million or $728.8 million aid suspension due to regional concerns. However, this move faced immediate opposition. Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell clarified that aid payments would not be suspended, emphasizing the harm it could cause to Palestinians and EU interests. Amidst the disagreement, Luxembourg's Foreign Minister Jean Asselborn argued that such decisions should be made collectively by the 27 member states. Meanwhile, Spanish Foreign Minister José Manuel Alvarez expressed his disagreement with Varhelyi's initial decision. In response to this dispute, the European Commission revealed plans for an urgent review of EU aid, clarifying that payments were not suspended. The objective is to ensure funding does not indirectly support terrorism and assess adjustments in support programs. Reporting, this has been Jane Conita, SMNI News.
Australian officials demanded an investigation and condemned the behavior of Palestine supporters who chant anti-Semitic slogans and hurled flares at the police officers outside a famous building in Sydney, Australia. Shayna Celine reports.
Australian leaders slammed pro-Palestine activists who were filmed chanting anti-Jewish sentiments as they celebrated the Hamas attack on Israel. Shocking footage captured the moment when the protesters attacked the Sydney Opera House with flares while waving Palestinian flags and chanting anti-Israel slogans. The activists also burned Israeli flags outside the steps of the Sydney Opera House, a World Heritage Site and one of the most photographed buildings worldwide. Up to 1,000 activists joined the pro-Palestine rally where the mob marched from the Sydney Town Hall to the Opera House, where the sails of the famous building lit up in blue and white in support of Israel. The New South Wales Police defended its decision to arrest a man who waved an Israeli flag and removed him from the site, stating that his presence at the rally posed a significant risk to his safety and the safety of others who were there. The police also warned the Jewish community to avoid the Opera House, with members of the community lamenting how they were unable to gather and observe an act of solidarity after pro-Palestine protesters invaded the area. Among the Australian leaders who openly condemned the anti-Semitic scenarios during the rally include Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, who described the event as horrific, and Foreign Affairs Minister Penny Wong, who maintained that anti-Semitism or prejudice has no place in Australia. Meanwhile, New South Wales Premier Chris Minns said it is important for members of Sydney's Jewish community could safely meet and mourn. Reporting from Melbourne, this is Shayna Celine, SMNI News, Australia.
Another powerful earthquake struck western Afghanistan just 2 days after two large quakes killed nearly 3,000 people in the same region. The new 6.3 magnitude quake that struck 28 kilometers outside the Afghan city of Herat on Wednesday injured more than 100 people, according to the health officials. The strong earthquake came just days after a series of deadly tremors killed nearly 3,000 people and flattened 700 homes in one village alone. Many people were sleeping in the open after their homes were destroyed on Saturday. Aid agencies said that those who survived struggled with shortage of blankets, food, and other supplies. The widened impact of the disaster remains unclear as survivors continue to desperate search for their missing loved ones under the rubble. Afghanistan continues to appeal for foreign assistance for food, medicine, and relief efforts.
The Palestinian ambassador to Thailand has promised to help secure the release of at least 11 Thai workers reportedly kidnapped by the Palestinian militant group Hamas. Anissa de Guzman tells us more.
Thailand is working with Jordan, Egypt and Malaysia to secure the release of nearly a dozen of its citizens who were taken hostage amid intense fighting between Israeli forces and the Hamas group. The Thai Foreign Ministry initially confirmed that 12 Thai nationals were killed, 9 wounded, and 11 more are being held by the Hamas militants in the Gaza Strip. As of Tuesday, the ministry announced that 18 Thais are now feared dead in the violence, with the numbers still unconfirmed amid the bloody chaos. Approximately 30,000 Thais live and work in Israel, with many of them working in farms near the Gaza border due to the high salary it offers as compared to the wages back home. About 1,400 Thais have signed up to be evacuated, with the first batch scheduled to return on Thursday. Palestinian ambassador to Thailand Walid Abu Ali, who also serves as an ambassador to Malaysia, promised to do his best to make sure that the Thai citizens are safe and are evacuated back to their home country. To note, Gaza has been governed by the Hamas group since 2007. The Palestinian National Authority lost its control of the territory after local elections took place in 2006. Disha Nanisa de Guzman Drangan Chakontep Mahanakon, SMNI News, Pratethay, Sawadika.
The United Arab Emirates expressed its condolences and solidarity with the victims of a powerful earthquake in Afghanistan, which resulted in the deaths of injuries of thousands of people. Frederico has the news.
Survivors of the magnitude 6.3 earthquake that struck western Afghanistan on Saturday amid the rubble of demolished villages as the death toll nears 3,000. People in the regional capital of Herat City preferred to sleep in public parks and streets for fear of more tremors after the U.S. Geological Survey reported quakes of magnitude 5.9, 4.9, and 4.7 in rural areas on Monday. The 6.3 magnitude quake hit Zindajan, a rural district some 40 kilometers away from Herat City, where 100% of homes were almost wiped out, according to the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. The deadly quake was followed by 8 strong aftershocks, destroying homes and sending panicked residents to the streets. Officials fear that the death toll could be much higher. Nearly 10,000 people were injured and the death toll is expected to rise. Desperate villagers used shovels and bare hands to search for hundreds of people missing under the rubble. Blocked roads and disrupted communication lines caused the delivery of the aid to get delayed. The UAE also sent 38 tons of medical aid and food supplies to families in Afghanistan affected by a magnitude 6.5 earthquake in March. Reporting from Dubai, this has been Glatero Omori, SMNI News, United Arab Emirates.
Authorities from Finland and Estonia suspected that the damage to an undersea pipeline connecting Finland and Estonia was not an accident and could have been caused by external activity. Kirby Hill, Trinidad, tell us more.
Finnish authorities suggested that a potential sabotage could have damaged the Baltic Connector pipeline, which supplies Finland with gas from Estonia and also serves as a telecommunications cable. Finnish and Estonian gas system operators Gasgrid Finland and Elering said they noticed an unusual drop in pressure in the pipeline shortly before 2 a.m. on Sunday. The operators immediately closed the valves upon suspecting a gas leak in the offshore pipeline. Gasgrid Finland gave no reason for the suspected leak, but said it was investigating the incident with the Estonian operator. The Finnish operators said that repair work could take at least several months depending on the nature of the damage. Finnish President Sauli Niinistö said that although the cause of the damage was not yet clear, it is likely that the damage to both the gas pipeline and the communication cable was the result of external activity. Finnish Prime Minister Petteri Orpo also suggested that the observed damage could have not been caused by normal operations. When asked by the press if Russia could have been involved, the Finnish Prime Minister replied he didn't want to speculate on potential perpetrators before the investigation was complete. The latest incident took place more than a year after a series of explosions that damaged 3 of the 4 pipelines that make up Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, with motives behind the sabotage remaining debated. Both pipelines were built to transport natural gas from Russia to Germany through the Baltic Sea and have been subject to disputes between Russia and the European Union even before the sabotage took place. Russia has accused the West of sabotaging the Russia-built natural gas pipeline and called for an independent investigation. Meanwhile, an explosive blog titled How America Took Out the Nord Stream Pipeline, written by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Seymour Hersh, revealed in detail how American Navy divers planted the remotely triggered explosives under the cover of a NATO maritime exercise named Baltic Operation 22 in June of last year. The US and its allies, on the other hand, denied the accusations by Moscow, while Russian officials have complained of being blocked from examining evidence gathered from the sites where the explosions occurred. This has been Kirby Trinidad, SMNI News.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte believes that the bloggers did not violate any law for interviewing former Bucor Chief Bantag, who is a fugitive from the law. Hannah Jane Sancho has the details.
So, kung may mga enterprising na bloggers o newsmen or members of the media who would go to him and interview him and even picture him as a hero, we go to the extreme. That cannot be by any measure contemptuous. As a matter of fact, it is the right of the Filipino who is into media, the freedom of expression, the freedom of the press. And even if there is a filed case against him, and even if he's a fugitive with a record now na may kaso, you can ask question. You are not prohibited by any law or by any regulation that could amount to a contempt of what? Court.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte expresses disagreement with Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla's statement on contempting the bloggers who interviewed former Bureau of Corrections Chief Gerald Bantag. For Justice Secretary Remulla, the bloggers should be cited in contempt for disrespecting the court and the process of the law as they interviewed Bantag knowing that he is a fugitive. The Justice Secretary also emphasized that Bantag is facing a murder case. But according to former President Duterte, only the Congress has the power to cite contempt.
With due respect to the Secretary, I beg to disagree. We're both lawyers. I know that you're brighter than me. I'm just using perhaps what I have learned. I'm older than you. This is not to offend you, but I disagree. There is nothing at all that you can, even an iota of wrong or misdemeanor to hold these people liable in contempt. It's only Congress who can cite you in contempt. The courts can cite you in contempt. Quasi-judicial bodies.
It can be remembered that the bloggers, Banateros bloggers, also known as Banat Pai, Coach Oli, and Boss Dada, held an exclusive interview with Bantag. The Justice Department meanwhile said it is preparing to file a complaint against these bloggers for interviewing the former Bucor chief. Bantag is wanted for murder in connection with the killing of veteran broadcaster Percival Percy Lapid Mabasa. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Hannah Jane Sancho, SMNI News.
The former president delivered a strong warning against drug dealers, coddlers, and police officers involved in such acts. Paul Motibol tells us more.
Pero tuluyan ko na, ikaw
In the latest Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa with Pastor Apollo C. Chibuloy, former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte made a strong warning against drug addicts, coddlers, and police officers amid the resurgence of illegal drugs problem in the Philippines. The former president believes that justice now seems to be an illusion when it comes to fighting the drug problem, including those who are involved. This is why the former president believes that death is the easiest solution to the illegal drug problem.
Kayo mga drogista, ang katapat dyan, lalo na kayo yung gumagawa talaga ng shabu o na-import ng shabu. Ang kapatat ninyo dyan, hindi justice. I do not believe in that. Ang kapatat ninyo dyan, kamatayan. You do drugs, you bring in drugs, you cook drugs, you're dead. Justice, because justice becomes an illusion.
Aside from drug addicts, pushers, and drug lords, Duterte also blasted police officers who continue to engage with illegal drug transactions for money. He also said that this problem has been going on for decades, as he has also witnessed the same under his administration.
Pero ulitin ko, alam mo ba ang sinabi ko sa police? When I was asked, what do you think of pure police? Sabi ko, police, it's corrupt to the core. And I tried to correct it during my time. Threatening you, mga opisyal, na pagka magkamali kayo, ipapatay ko talaga kayo. So what happened? After years, I'm gone, panahon na ni Bongbong, sinisira ninyo yung administrasyon because the generals and so many of you, son of pumasok kayo sa mga droga. Mga pulis. Kaya kayo mga pulis, pag hindi nyo patayin niya mga sisirain lang ninyong administrasyon, pati yung Pilipino.
If the country still sees no change in the illegal drug problem, Duterte warned the remaining drug syndicates if he returns to the government.
Kaya kayo mga pulis, pag hindi nyo patayin niya mga sisirain lang ninyong administrasyon, pati yung Pilipino. Patayin ninyo yan. Pag ako ang nabalik dyan, baski anong posisyon, bantay kayo. Either patayin ninyo ako ngayon, o talagang tignan mo.
On the other hand, Duterte said that if the current government cannot solve the persisting drug problem, the armed forces of the Philippines could lead the campaign instead, especially now that many police officers are involved in such illegal acts.
Hindi ito gusto ng military. Pag walang mangyari dito, but I'm sure that the President can act on it on time. Because wag hindi ito, the military will take the matter on its own hand. Sigurado ako, mga Pilipino yan eh. Hindi naman Pakistani yung military natin. Mga Ilocano yan, karamihan. Mga Bisaya, mga Ilonggo. Yung PMA, the institution itself, would stand against it on all four. I know that. That's why I'm comfortable. Kaya ni Presidente yan.
It can be remembered that authorities have so far seized a total of 30 billion pesos worth of illegal drugs under the administration of the President Bongbong Marcos Jr. Duterte believes that the solution is in the hands of the President and that he can put an end to the problem if he wants to.
I am not giving a measure of success or failure sa kay Presidente. I was once upon a time a president, and the problem is growing bigger and bigger. Bumabalik na po, Mr. President. You have the power to eradicate it totally if you want, or make the problem less than what it is now. Ako, ang mga powers na lahat nasa iyo man. Madali lang man yan. Sir, Mr. President, gusto mo talaga.
For God on my country, the Philippines, reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, President Ferdinando Marcos Jr. mourns the death of 2 Filipinos in Israel amid the ongoing war between Israeli forces and Hamas. The Philippine president also assured that the government will continue to provide assistance to all Filipinos affected due to the conflict. Mike Dennis Oliveira reports live. Mike?
Good evening, Fred. President Marcos Jr. denounced the terror attacks in Israel and lamented the death of 2 Filipinos killed amid the Israel-Hamas war.
In a statement, Marcos said, quote, "My heart is heavy upon hearing confirmation of the deaths of 2 Filipinos in Israel. The president stressed that the country condemns such killings and stands firmly against the ongoing terror and violence. He also said that the Philippine government will remain resolute in the pursuit of lasting peace in accordance with the UN resolutions and international laws. It can be remembered that in his official account X, formerly known as Twitter, Foreign Affairs Secretary Manalo confirmed on Wednesday the killing of 2 Filipino nationals in the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict. Before this, President Marcos instructed the Department of Migrant Workers and the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration to find and account all overseas Filipino workers and their families in Israel.
Fred, PBBM has ordered all agencies involved in protecting OFWs and the Filipino community to cooperate with the Philippine Embassy there and the Migrant Workers Office in Israel to ensure their security. Back to you, Fred.
Thank you. That's Mike Dennis Oliveira live on SMNI Studios.
Europe has issued a warning that they will file legal cases against individuals promoting obscenity on TV and social media. They have already filed several charges against an actress they found posting lewd content on Facebook. MJ Modahar reports.
Girl-to-girl sexual act. Nasa Facebook page mismo, hindi lang yan sa Viva Max application. Sa Facebook page, nakita mo, nakahubad, babae to babae naghalikan.
This is just one of the explicit content uploaded on the verified Facebook account of Filipino-Korean sexy actress Angelique Kang. According to the Kapisanan ng Social Media Broadcasters ng Pilipinas Incorporated, or KSMBPI, the explicit content posted by the actress is a great offense to the youth. And to teach her a lesson, they have filed 6 counts of criminal charges against Kang at the Pasay City Prosecutor's Office.
So 1 million followers kay Miss Kang na Facebook page, and makita mo ang daming mga ginagawang mga kalasawaan using the Facebook application.
The charges filed against the actress are for violation of Article 201 of the Revised Penal Code, which is related to the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. Each count is equivalent to 20 years of imprisonment and a fine of 200,000 pesos.
Ito yung mga obscene publication. So ito yung ginagawa natin and hope na may message kasi ang kapisanan sa in public and also in our government na I think kailangan na bigyan ng ngipin ang ating batas about sa mga publication kasi kulang yung batas natin sa cyberspace natin, sa cybercrime, lalo na yung mga obscene publication in relation to the cybercrime law.
Apart from Kang, KSMBPI has also stated that they will file charges against other fellow sexy stars of Kang. This includes AJ Rabal and other A-listers from Viva Max.
So let this be a warning to all that we should be responsible sa pag-produce po natin ng content and sa ating mga producers saka mga content creators.
The filing of cases by KSMBPI does not end here. The group ensures that they continue to monitor and are ready to file cases against those who promote obscenity on television and on social media, even during the season of giving and forgiveness approaches.
Sa mga nude content creators, sabi ko nga, Santa Claus is coming to town. So yung ginagawa ninyo, kung hindi niyo pipigilan, baka dun kayo magpasko sa kulungan.
With that, the group called to many Filipinos to join their crusade against what they call as moral decay in Philippine TV and in social media. For Ganable of Philippines, I'm Jay Mondihar, SMNI News.
The House of Representatives has decided to allocate zero confidential funds for the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education in the 2024 National Budget Bill. MJ Mondihar reports.
Controversial confidential funds. As such, the Office of the Vice President and the Departments of Education, Information and Communications, Agriculture, and Foreign Affairs are getting zero confidential funds under the 2024 General Appropriations Bill.
The House of Representatives has decided to allocate zero confidential funds for the Office of the Vice President and Department of Education in the 2024 National Budget Bill. The 1.23 billion request for confidential funds for the mentioned agencies will reportedly be allocated to agencies involved in defending the West Philippine Sea. It will also be added to the maintenance and other operating expenses of other government offices.
We believe that the House of Representatives is on the right side of history. We are responding to the call of the times, and the volatile situation in the West Philippine Sea calls for the immediate and decisive action to protect our national sovereignty.
The House is confident that the Senate will follow its version of using confidential funds, even if the budget versions of both chambers go through bicameral deliberations. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has denied having 1.6 billion pesos in confidential funds this year. This comes as the issue has gone viral on social media. According to Congresswoman Kimbo, these are extraordinary funds and not confidential funds. This is despite the item being listed under confidential, intelligence, and extraordinary expenses of the House of Representatives.
Ang heading ay confidential, intelligence, and extraordinary. So magkaiba po yung confidential doon po sa extraordinary. Yung extraordinary po ay fully auditable.
For instance, extraordinary expenses may include funds for calamities. According to Foreign Relations Analyst Sasrogando Sasot, the regulation on extraordinary expenses is more lenient. She stated that it is based on information from a retired COA official whom she did not name.
According sa isang retired na taga-COA na kumontak sa akin, mas malala ang extraordinary expenses. Kasi ang extraordinary expenses, certification lang ang kailangan. Less strict ito kaysa sa confidential funds na mas strict ang mga requirements. Okay? So, extraordinary expenses, certification lang. As House of Representatives, ang may control niyan ay ang House Speaker. 1.6 billion.
For Ganable of Philippines, I'm Jay Mondihar, SMNI News.
Former President Frederico Duterte has issued a challenge to all lawmakers and the Commission of Audit regarding questions concerning the use of confidential and intelligent funds by civilian government agencies, including the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education, both of which are led by Vice President Sara Duterte. Ina Mortel has the details.
Mag-liquidation tayo and you will find out what is the most rotten institution dito. You will find out it's Congress. Walang limit ang ano nila dyan. Yung pork barrel.
This is the challenge from former President Rodrigo Duterte to lawmakers who continue to scrutinize the use of confidential and intelligence funds by Vice President Sara Duterte and other civilian government agencies. It is worth noting that several left-leaning lawmakers have questioned the use of confidential fund requests from the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education, both of which are under the leadership of Bibi Sara. Questions have also been raised about the swift expenditure of funds provided by the Office of the President to the OVP in December 2022. In connection to this, former President Duterte has challenged Congress and the Commission on Audit to release a report identifying the recipients of significant funds and how public money has been spent.
Maghigi ako ng audit. Ngayon, kung hindi ibigay sa atin yan, I will ask everybody, from the farmer to the businessman, to the church people, to every Filipino, to every soldier and policeman, that we all demand that we open the liquidation. Lahat para malaman rin namin kung paano ninyo winaldas ang pera namin. And I will demand the COA, because if the COA will not do it, then I am asking the Filipino, everybody, every soldier, every policeman, every farmer, to demand para malaman natin once and for all kung sino ang nagwawaldas ng pera sa Pilipinas. Ikaw, Franz, kayo nga komunista dyan sa Congress. Yung mga left, how did you spend the money all this year?
Meanwhile, FPRRD mentioned that based on their discussion with his daughter in Davao City, the purpose of the requested confidential funds for the Department of Education is to strengthen the preparatory military training or PMT in high schools and reinstate the mandatory Reserve Officers Training Corps or ROTC.
Gamitin niya sa mga PMT, palakasin niya sa high school, pati ibalik talaga niya yung ROTC, ipilit niya. So make it compulsory. But that would be a long process kasi matagal na kasing nawala yung compulsory ROTC. So sabi niya pa, I would like to have a soft landing. Kasi ayaw ng mga bata. Alam mga bata, gusto inom, suroy, ganon. Hindi na alam yung at least a little amount, space and time na magkaroon sila ng sense of love of country, ganon. So papasok ito sa ROTC. Ang sinabi niya, ngayon, hindi ito madalaki, mapilit ka agad. You have to have a soft landing. Sabi niya, seminar muna bago sa enrollment, o dalhin sa kampo yung mga bata, field trip muna nila, continuous yan, para makita ng mga bata kung ito yung mga kanyo natin, yung pawakan sila ng tangke de guerra, pasakayin sila sa eroplano. Yun ang plano niya.
On the other hand, the former president has something to say over the political attacks targeting his daughter, VP Sara.
Ayaw ko kung bakit. Inaano niya si Inday. Si Inday naman is perceived to be a good candidate. But I'm saying now that Inday, as far as I'm concerned, should not run for president. Tama na yung vice president. Maganda na yan. Ibigay na niya sa iba. This Romualdez, speaker, yan ang sige bigay ng congressman, pinabusog nila lahat. Pero sabi ko, mag-audit tayo. Because the speaker is poised to be or to run for president. Well and good. Gusto ko ikaw ang mapresidente. Kasi noon kaibigan kita, wala pa yan si Marcos, nakakampanya pa. May parang sinasabi ka na gusto mo. Sabi ko, okay. I was not thinking of my daughter. perceive lang yan siya to be a good candidate. Pero tuluyan ko na, ikaw na, Romualdez.
For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Ina Mortel, SMNI News.
And former President Rodrigo Duterte has emphasized that the South China Sea issue can be resolved through diplomatic means, and also mentioned that Chinese President Xi Jinping understands the plight of the Filipino people. Kai Villan reports.
But because there is a conflict of interest, we just talk.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte explained that the South China Sea dispute between the Philippines and China could be resolved through ongoing discussions. During his appearance on Gikan sa Masa Para sa Masa program with Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, the former president explained that the issue of contested territories could be resolved through a peaceful dialogue with China, primarily because Chinese President Xi Jinping is a compassionate and understanding leader.
Alam mo, si President Xi Jinping must be there for us to be safe. Wala ma rin tayong magawa. Any other president of China would still insist na kanya yan. But itong tao na ito si President Xi Jinping, maawain. Kita mo hanggang ngayon, nakapag-isda pa yung mga... May sinabi ko, maawa ka naman sa amin. And he understands the plight of the Philippines. Sabi, ganun na yan ang ganun. And you can see what is his reaction. Makita mo, sige pangisda yung Pilipino dyan.
In fact, during a visit to China when Duterte met with President Xi, the Chinese leader assured him that China would not attack the Philippines solely based on the West Philippine Sea issue.
President Xi Jinping is a very courteous man, soft-spoken. Kaya sabi niya, matatabi niya, almost parang nag-Chinese na nga siya. Lit mo, bakit patulan kita? Yan talaga ang sabi ng China.
Former President Duterte made it clear that the absence of gray ships from both nations indicates a state of peace between China and the Philippines.
Yung ating Coast Guard is part of the Department of Transportation. And they are part ng Armed Forces of the Philippines. Pinapadala natin because we do not want war. Walang gray ship pinapadala ka. It's white. The gray is the Navy. Kaya itong Chinese naman, government, pinapadala nila, mga Coast Guard lang rin nila. It means na walang gera lang ito, ha? O sige, mag-alitan lang tayo dito, magbanggaan tayo dito, mag-usap lang tayo, but we cannot send our gray ships na Philippine Navy, yung destroyer or cruiser natin, whatever.
To recall one of the heated issues faced not only by Philippines but also by China and other Asian countries involved territorial disputes in the South China Sea. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines. Kai Villan, SMNI News.
The death toll continued to mount as the war between Israel and Hamas continued to escalate with signs of easing anytime soon. Andrea Santos reports.
More than 1,900 people had been killed in the latest round of Palestine-Israel conflict as of Tuesday, with the current escalation of tensions and violence between the two sides showing no signs of easing. A total of 921 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank have been killed, and 4,630 others injured in Israeli airstrikes since the latest fighting broke out on Saturday. Of this number, 900 people were killed and about 4,500 others injured in the Gaza Strip, according to figures released by the Palestinian Health Ministry in Gaza recently. On the other hand, Israeli media reported that the conflict has killed at least 1,008 people and injured 2,901 others on the Israeli side. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East said Tuesday that in the past 24 hours, the number of displaced people in the Gaza Strip triggered by the conflict has increased rapidly, reaching a total of 187 and 518 people, and the figure is expected to rise further. Nearly 137,500 displaced people are currently sheltering in 83 UNRWA schools in the Gaza Strip, the latest data showed. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency said an increasing number of displaced people are seeking shelter in its school as the air raids continue. But some shelters are already overcrowded with limited drinking water. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for an end to the vicious cycle of bloodshed, hatred, and polarization between Palestine and Israel. He also expressed his concerns over the humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip.
Have been reported captured by armed groups, including women, children, and the elderly. Some are being held hostage inside Israel, and many others have been taken inside the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad have launched thousands of indiscriminate rockets that have reached central Israel, including Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. I recognize the legitimate grievances of the Palestinian people, but nothing can justify these acts of terror and the killing, maiming, and abduction of civilians. I reiterate my call to immediately cease these attacks and release all hostages. I'm deeply alarmed by reports of over 500 Palestinians, including women and children, killed in Gaza and over 3,000 injured. Unfortunately, these numbers are rising by the minute as Israeli operations continue. While I recognize Israel's legitimate security concerns, I also remind Israel that military operations must be conducted in strict accordance with international humanitarian law. Civilians must be respected and protected at all times. Civilian infrastructure must never be a target.
Reporting, this is Andrea Santos, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, former President Rodrigo Duterte called Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a classic warrior. He also has a message to the now wartime leader leading the Israeli military in its fight against Hamas. Jade Calabroso reports.
Ito si Netanyahu. He's a classic warrior. Hindi yan pampolitiko si warrior. You know, his brother died fighting the terrorists. Pati si Netanyahu, sundalo yan.
This is how former President Rodrigo Duterte described Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. In the latest episode of Gikat sa Masa para sa Masa with Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, Duterte also drew similarities between Netanyahu and the late President Fidel V. Ramos, as they are both soldiers but unlike the latter.
He's not the classic example. The most that I could identify him with the Filipino, parang si Ramos yan. But ito si Netanyahu is more warrior. Ramos was a very decent man. Sundalo, pero he was always for peace. Ito si Netanyahu, hindi ito for peace. Even before this war, he is really a wartime president. Panggera talaga ito si Netanyahu. And he has lost in elections, parliamentary, naging prime minister, elections and parliamentary, natalo sila, naalis siya. I think this is the third or fourth time balik.
The former president is referring to Netanyahu's political power as the longest tenured prime minister. He has held office 6 times for over 16 years. Netanyahu held several ambassadorship positions and later served as a deputy minister of foreign affairs and deputy minister in a prime minister's coalition cabinet. But in his early days, Netanyahu was in the Israeli military. He enlisted in the year 1967 and was part of the elite special operations unit called Sayeret Matkal. In 1973, he fought in the Yom Kippur War, also known as the Fourth Arab-Israeli War, a devastating event that began with surprise attacks led by Egypt and Syria during Jewish holy days. History books say that Israel ultimately gained the upper hand. However, the war resulted in more than 2,500 Israelis killed, as well as thousands of Syrians and Egyptians. Analysts and the media have drawn parallels to the Yom Kippur War and the unprecedented attack of Hamas on Israel on October 7, 2023, which halted Israel's political divide over a judicial overhaul. Exactly 50 years and a day later, Netanyahu is facing a similar event. This time, he is standing as a wartime prime minister.
Israel is at war. We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it. Once the Jewish people were stateless. Once the Jewish people were defenseless. No longer. Hamas will understand that by attacking us, they've made a mistake of historic proportions. We will exact a price that will be remembered by them and Israel's other enemies for decades to come.
Israel has an atomic bomb. I think it is only Israel may atomic bomb dyan sa Middle East. Ihulog ko na lang yan, sabihin ko, tapos tayong lahat. Huwag mo akong ganunin. So if there is a representative of the Jewish state Israel, paki-basa lang kay Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, na kung ako, yan ang gawin ko. At ako naman, if you are an Arab state who has the cranial mass inside your, you must condemn and just say, Adre, my neighbor, my brother Arab, please do not do it in excess.
Duterte has strongly condemned Hamas' attack on civilians, but if he were in Netanyahu's shoes, the former president said,
so my advice to Netanyahu, if there is a representative of Israel listening now, gawin ninyong malaking cemetery yan. Pulpugin ninyo lahat, pati lahat na. Kung ako ang may atomic bomb, ihulog ko talaga. Alam mo kung saan ako ihulog? Sa Iran. Because itong Hamas na ito, ang amo ng Hamas.
FPRRD also stressed that terror groups like Hamas should be eliminated.
Yung sabi nila ng Hamas, tama yung ginagawa nila. What if tama yung pagpatay ng mga inosente?
Bata.
Ubusin mo yung Israeli army for all I care. You can massacre them all. But you should not harm even one single innocent civilian. He may be an Arab, Palestine, originally, or yung mga tourists doon, French, German, kasali na. So they are, it's a tinderbox. Because ang Philippines, even one Filipino, ang ginawa mo sa ganon, I will go to war. You have to eliminate this. Hindi pwede yung mga ganon na rulers of nations or groups, violent terrorist groups, to have their way and just kill people without rhyme or reason.
It can be remembered that Israel launched a total siege on Gaza Strip and unleashed a retaliatory strike, pummeling Hamas' stronghold and halting deliveries of food, water, medicines, electricity, and other supplies.
So, itong mga high-profile na with so much influence on the Arab affairs, should think now of how to correct things if it can be corrected. Kasi ako si Netanyahu, pulpugin ko yung Hamas, I will level it to the ground para wala ng Gaza. No more Gaza to fight for. I will make it a dead place. Kasama na yung matamaan ng bomba. I will forget about Gaza. I will just tell the mga Israel, bumalik na kayo, maghanap kayo ng pwesto dito sa lugar natin. At kayong mga Palestine, the good ones, the innocent ones, umatras kayo kasi pulpugin ko ito. And I will make it the biggest cemetery in the world.
Wow.
Kung ako, yun talaga ang gawin ko. Am I a violent man? Yes. If there is reason to be violent and angry. Walang problema yan. Am I excessively... Well, we are not created equals. I will say that this is not to side with Israel. We have always been neutral. Baski ako nung presidente ako. The Arab is good, Israel is good. Ang akin. I feel for the Muslims in the Middle East, and I love the Muslims, Filipino Muslims in this country. But there has to be reason and a time for reckoning for everything. It's out of tune and it has harmed so many people.
For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Jade Calabroso, SMNI News.
An Australian delegation is currently in Mindanao to provide support to our fellow countrymen. Emma Jane Modahar tells us more from Butuan City.
From touring model farms to showcasing modern facility. That's the schedule of the Australian delegation during their visit to Agusan del Sur on Wednesday, October 11. The chief scientist of the Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research, Dr. James Quilty, and Australian Deputy Ambassador to the Philippines, James Human, are leading the delegation. Alongside this, the Australian delegation assures their strong support for Agusan del Sur, particularly in the fields of agriculture and soil science-based farming systems.
Well, ideally what we're forming is more than partnerships and relationships. We're actually really working towards a shared vision and becoming friends.
On September 8 this year, President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese signed a memorandum of understanding. The agreement includes a $4.4 million
and the Australian government.
Governor Kane also highlighted the crucial support of President Bongbong Marcos for their soil science strategy in the province, emphasizing its potential benefits for the entire Philippines.
Napakalaking factor yun because it means that ang mga plano namin for agriculture in the country is supported by no less than the President and at the same time the Secretary of Agriculture. At lalo na nabanggit yung soil science, I really jumped with joy. Why? Because it will complement the programs of Agusan del Sur in terms of soil science.
Part of the partnership between Australia and the provincial government is establishment of a soils laboratory in the province, which will involve experts like soil chemists, soil microbiologists, and others. Additionally, modern farm technologies will be provided to Agusan del Sur, along with a strong focus on research and development and good governance in planning and implementing programs. For Ganamabal of Philippines, I'm Jay Mondihar, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, following the recognition of Surigao as one of the 10 best islands in Asia this 2023, a lawmaker believes that the island will attract more tourists both domestic and foreign. Jason Frederico reports.
Siargao Island in Surigao del Norte was one of the most severely damaged by Typhoon Odette in 2021. Many households and livelihoods were damaged by the typhoon, especially the island's tourism. But 2 years later, tourism has again flourished in Siargao. One proof of this is the island's recognition received from the Top 10 Reader's Choice Award by an international travel magazine, Condemns Traveler, as part of the 10 best islands in Asia. Surigao del Norte 1st District Representative Congressman Bingo Matugas believes that this recognition resulted in more tourists flocking to Siargao.
So we're very thankful na na-recognize po ang Siargao after 2 years. So it means na we are back, no? We are back. We expect, Jason, na talagang dadami ang pupunta sa Siargao with this award, no?
Congressman Bingo bared ongoing projects to further develop the island's tourism. He said that the construction of tourism infrastructure is non-stop, including a cruise port.
We have an upcoming another port of entry, no, for Siargao. We will be opening soon the cruise port, international cruise port for cruise vessels. No, so mga cruise ships pwede na mag-land sa Siargao.
The said cruise port is 90% completed and is expected to be operational next year. Construction of roads in Siargao also continues, as one of the popular activities on the island is motorbiking. A tourist rest area was also built on the island, an initiative of the Department of Tourism. Meanwhile, Siargao's preparations are in full swing for the upcoming 27th Siargao International Surfing Cup. The island aims to make Siargao even more recognized as one of the best surfing sites in the world.
We're targeting to be at par already with the best surfing sites in the world. Because Cloud9, which is located in General Luna, Siargao, is the number 8 surfing site in the world. So we're hoping na with this coming event, mapapakita natin yung yung isla.
For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Frederico, SMNI News.
Thailand's second Earth observation satellite was successfully launched into orbit early this week. Shatmongon Pisamegozon has the details.
TEOS-2, Thailand's second Earth observation satellite, was sent into orbit 15 years after the country launched its first satellite, TEOS-1. The satellite was launched from the French Guiana Space Center earlier this week. Thailand Times staff applauded that will help improve the country's space technology infrastructure and human resources, among others. The satellite replaces TEOS-1, which was launched on October 1, 2008, and has now reached the end of its lifespan. The advanced space infrastructure is important in enhancing Thailand's Earth observation capability. รายงานจากราชบุรีนายชัดมงคลวิสมัยโกศล SMNI News ประเทศไทย สวัสดีครับ
In our sports news, LA Tenorio is back to basketball training after recovering from colon cancer. Meanwhile, Jerwin Akajas is set to face Takuma Inoue of Japan in the WBA Batang Weight title fight in November. RJ Perez reports.
Has returned to training after several months of recovering from colon cancer. In his latest Instagram post, he can be seen conducting dribbling drills. It can be recalled the doctors declared the basketball player cancer-free in September following his most recent test in Singapore. In March, Tenorio announced that he had stage 3 colon cancer. In April, he revealed that he was tumor-free after undergoing surgery. Meanwhile, Filipino boxer Jerwin Akajas is preparing for his very first title fight in the WBA bantamweight division. He will be facing the reigning title holder, Takuma Inoue, on November 15 in Tokyo, Japan. Akajas previously moved up to the bantamweight division, weighing at 122 pounds, after reigning as a super flyweight champion for several years. He first faced Wheeler Soto in the bantamweight division and emerged victorious. Takuma Inoue is the brother of former bantamweight undisputed champion Naoya Inoue. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been RJ Perez, SMNI News.
The Olympic Committee of Japan hosted a reception as part of the anticipation of the Aichi Nagoya Asian Games, which will take place 3 years from now. Ria Saito has the news.
The Japanese Olympic Committee hosted a reception in anticipation of the 2026 Aichi Nagoya Asian Games on Saturday in East China's Hangzhou, the host city of the just concluded 19th ASEAN. In 2026, Japan's Aichi Prefecture and its capital Nagoya will take the reins from Hangzhou to host Asia's biggest continental sporting event. The reception was held 1 day ahead of the Hangzhou Games closing ceremony, in which a handover procession marked the passing of the torch from China to Japan. Raja Randir Singh, acting president of the Olympic Council of Asia, and Hideaki Omura, governor of Aichi Prefecture, along with athletes and officials representing the National Olympic Committees of Asian countries and regions, graced the reception with their presence. During the event, the governor of Aichi Prefecture extended warm greetings to all guests and praised Hangzhou for hosting an outstanding Asian Games.
The Hangzhou Asian Games was opened by China's President His Excellency Xi Jinping during a spectacular ceremony. I have the honor of attending the opening ceremony. The parade of athletes and delegations from member countries and regions in Asia was truly inspiring. I am confident that the Games will be a huge success.
The reception also introduced the rich culture, traditional cuisine, beautiful scenery, and hospitality of the Central Japanese Prefecture, showcasing its readiness for a splendid competition. The committee aims to inspire people with the slogan, Imagine One Asia.
Our Aichi Nagoya Asian Games will inspire everyone and give children real true sport. We will express to the world our slogan, Imagine One Asia.
Japan is set to host the 20th Asian Games from September 19 to October 4, 2026. 以上、日本からサイトリアニュースをお伝えしました。SMNI News Japan.
Meanwhile, Pastor Apollo Sikibolay SMNI received another recognition, and this time it came from the Public Attorney's Office, lauding the good pastor and SMNI for significant contributions to nation building and the broadcasting industry. Jason Frederico reports.
We are here at the Philippine International Convention Center, where Pastor Apollo Sikibolay was recognized as the outstanding civic leader by the Public Attorney's Office. It also awarded SMNI News Channel as an outstanding broadcasting network. Prominent individuals, companies, and groups were recognized by the Public Attorney's Office at Philippine International Convention Center, or PICC, in Pasay City on Wednesday. This coincides with the 5th National Convention of the Rank and File Employees of Public Attorney's Office. The Program on Awards and Incentives for Service Excellence Committee selected the awardees, as said by PAO Chief Attorney Persida Acosta. These awardees supported the aspiration and mission of PAO in providing free legal services and social justice. And among them was Pastor Apollo Sikibolay, who was recognized as an outstanding civic leader. Acosta described Pastor Apollo as an icon of democracy for his significant contributions, especially in promoting peace and the rule of law.
Ako ay isa sa bahagi na nagbibigay inspirasyon sa maralitang Pilipino para patuloy na maging magiting at may kapayapaan, kapanatagan sa pagkabuhay dito sa ating bansa. Sa kabila ng maraming pagsubok, pandemya, nandiyan po si Pastor Sikibolay para po maging icon of democracy, peace, and rule of law.
PAO also recognized the SMNI News Channel as an outstanding broadcasting network for its contribution to the field of journalism.
SMNI po ay napili sapagkat saan Public Attorney's Office ay nandiyan po ang SMNI. Sila po ay bahagi ng, kumbaga ay kasangkapan para maparating sa mga liblib na dako, sa mga karagatan, kagubatan, at kahit sa kabukiran kung ano po ang mga tunay na kaganapan at maging ang kaalaman sa batas. Dahil nasusulat po, ignorance of the law excuses no one from compliance therewith. Kaya po, ang SMNI ang isa pong nanguna na binigyan po ng gawad parangal ng umagang.
For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rubrico, SMNI News.
The Davao Region Wavering Congress held a 2-day event in Davao City, showcasing the past, present, and future of the waving industry. It brought light to the fabric designs, arts and crafts, and the intricate details that comes into making a tapestry. Jane Domingos tells us more.
On Monday, the 2-day Davao Region Weaving Congress opened in Davao City, which showcased various local traditional pieces and woven fabrics in a bid to highlight the traditional weaving cultures and the contemporary weaving practices in the region. Aside from this, the Congress also highlights the importance of the region's weaving communities, which comprise the indigenous peoples all over the region. Department of Trade and Industry Regional Director Maria Belenda Ambi noted that the weaving communities and the weaving industry in the region are among their priority groups.
Actually, for our weaving communities, we have already a lot of interventions, no? Aside from the domestic interventions provided by DTI, yung mga trainings natin and capacity building plus product dev, and then linking them with the designers group.
Ambi also acknowledges the need to come up with action plans, collaborate with other partners, and engage to other government agencies, private institutions, and the communities themselves to help them in the creatives and design of the national fabrics. She stressed that connecting these weavers with the market is also a crucial step in helping the weaving communities. Moreover, DTI Undersecretary Rafaelita Aldaba said that at the national level, they are now formulating for the first time textile design and fashion design roadmap, considering the potential opportunities that the weaving industry can get by fully developing the sector, as well as exposure of the national fiber and fabrics of the country. On the other hand, the DTI also noted a concern regarding the insufficient supply of abaca and other natural fibers, not only in Davao, but as well as in other areas in the country, stressing the need to collaborate with other government agencies to address the problem.
I think importante na we work together with the DA as well as with PhilFIDA in terms of improving yung productivity ng ating agricultural sector, being able to expand yung mga areas being planted to these natural materials, but at the same time, the use of technology is also very important. Automation, the use of good planting materials.
The 2-day Weaving Congress in Davao City is in collaboration with the DTI Region 11, Mindanao Trade Expo Foundation Incorporated, the Davao Fashion Designers Council Foundation Incorporated, and the Philippine Women's College of Davao Creative Hub for Innovation. Reporting, this has been Jean Domingo, SMNI News.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the message of the appointed Son of God. Hatred always destroys, while love heals.
And for our Christmas countdown is 74 days to go before Christmas. That's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For more news updates, you may visit SMNINewsChannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and Country, I'm Deivid Lira.
For God and Country, I'm Frederico Velloso. Thank you for watching Newsline World. And thank you to our beloved pastor, Pastor Apollo Sikiboloy, for the great opportunity and privilege to be part of this great program.
May you continue to listen on SMNI as it's delivered nothing but fair, truthful, and balanced news, because SMNI is your source of credible news.